Alrighty, YouTube, Niner Empire, what is going down? Welcome back to another video. The New York Jets have officially released Davante Adams. He has interest in playing for the 49ers, and obviously after the Deebo Samuel trade, I would expect the 49ers to show interest in him and potentially sign him. He's made it clear he's been vocal about wanting to return to the West Coast to play football. He's from Palo Alto, went to Fresno State, and the Niners obviously have a need at wide receiver. So could the 49ers go on a limb, sign Davante Adams in free agency to kind of fill the void for the departure of Deebo Samuel, and obviously, more importantly, Brandon Ayuk's injury. Brandon Ayuk's probably not going to be back until December of next year. So obviously the expectation is that the 49ers will sign a veteran wide receiver in free agency, while also potentially drafting one in the 2025 NFL draft. So there's a couple guys in the draft that I'm really intrigued by. One of those guys is Savion Williams, the TCU wide receiver. He's been linked to the 49ers. Luther Burden, the third, has also been linked to the 49ers. Coming up in the NFL draft. But I don't know. I mean, I definitely think the 49ers are definitely not going to go into the 2025 season with Ricky Pearsall and Juwan Jennings being their top two wide receivers. Now, they could, but I guess what I'm trying to say here is they're not going to go into the season with just those two guys and then, some nobody as their third wide receiver. They're going to sign a veteran wide receiver. Obviously, if you get a guy like Davante Adams, he's got a lot of football left. He would immediately become the 49ers' best wide receiver, even if Brandon Ayuk comes back. Davante Adams would be the 49ers' best wide receiver. And I will say this, Ricky Pearsall, Davante Adams, and Juwan Jennings is a pretty damn good wide receiver group. Obviously, I expect Ricky Pearsall to have a monstrous sophomore season. I think he's due for a breakout year, especially with the departure of Deebo, with Brandon Ayuk going to be out for an extended period of time. Juwan Jennings is Juwan Jennings. You know he's going to show up and ball out. He did it last year while Brandon Ayuk went down and Deebo was struggling. Juwan Jennings was our top receiver last year. So I definitely think Juwan Jennings, I'm not worried about him stepping up and being one of Purdy's top targets. He was one of Purdy's top targets last year. But getting a guy like Davante Adams really kind of ties this wide receiver group together. He would complete the wide receiver group. And again, the 49ers, even with potentially signing Davante Adams, would still probably go out in the NFL draft and take a wide receiver or two, I would say in mid to late rounds. So with the release of Davante Adams, it's huge for the 49ers because obviously the main reason why the Jets released him was because they couldn't find a trade partner. There was not a single team out there that wanted to take on that monstrous $28 to $30 million salary that Davante Adams was set to earn in 2025. And I definitely think if the 49ers sign him, it would likely be on like a one-year deal, I would think, maybe a 2-year deal, but I think the most likely outcome is a 1-year deal. And I definitely think his value and his market is going to be lower than what he was set to make with the Jets in 2025. Again, that $28 to $30 million per year mark. So I'm intrigued by Davante Adams. I do think he's the best wide receiver that's going to be out on the market. Obviously, you have Chris Godwin as well, but Chris Godwin could potentially be franchise tagged by the Bucs. And in that case, I would expect the 49ers are going to sign somebody in free agency, whether that's, a much cheaper option like a Darius Slayton or a Rondale Moore. I think Davante Adams fits the wide receiver type that the 49ers want to start bringing into this team. They want to bring in guys that are good route runners, that are downfield vertical threats. They want Brock Purdy to air this ball out more. And I think based off of how Brock Purdy has played over the last couple of years, I think they know the type of wide receivers that Brock Purdy will excel with. And it's guys like Ricky Pearsall, Jawan Jennings, and Davante Adams, guys that can get separation off the line, that are good route runners, that are downfield threats. That's something that Deebo Samuel was never known for. Deebo Samuel is always known for being this versatile, good yak guy, good with the ball in his hands, good after the catch. Deebo was never really known as a downfield target, a downfield vertical threat. He was never known for being a guy that's a phenomenal route runner. He wasn't known for being a guy that could really get separation. I think we've seen that in the Super Bowl. I think that's when the 49ers probably thought that they had an issue at wide receiver, was really in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Brandon Ayuk even had trouble getting separation in the Super Bowl, but Deebo could never really beat guys on one-on-one. He was always kind of the type of player, a good screen pass type of guy. I mean, and it's not a knock towards Deebo, it's just the style of his play that he brung to the 49ers. So I think based off of Brock Purdy's play, the 49ers know that they need to get some guys that can get separation, that are good route runners, good downfield targets. That's what you get in Davante Adams. So it's easy to understand why the 49ers will be interested in Davante Adams. Who the hell wouldn't be interested in Davante Adams? He is 32 years old, so he's older. But based off of what I seen last season, this guy has a lot left in the tank and would be a phenomenal target and piece for Brock Purdy in this offense. And it would really open up. I mean, if the 49ers sign Davante Adams, they likely have the best wide receiver group, especially when Brandon Ayuk comes back, if he doesn't get traded. They would easily have the best wide receiver group, I think, since Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have came in and have served as the GM and the head coach of the Niners. Like the wide receiver group, if you get a guy like Davante Adams and when Brandon Ayuk comes back, is lethal. Pearsall, Jawan Jennings, Brandon Ayuk, Davante Adams. I mean, and not only that, but Brock Purdy's also got George Kittle. So, I mean, that is a lethal arsenal of weapons for Brock Purdy. So I am all for getting Davante Adams. I know that I've been an advocate on getting younger and signing younger guys and developing talent. I think John Lynch even said it at the Combine. He knows that this team needs to get younger, but I think truly what John Lynch means by getting younger is, they need to get younger. And it's not necessarily that you really need to get younger at wide receiver, because aside from, I think Jawan Jennings might be the oldest wide receiver that the 49ers have. That will be on the roster and playing in 2025. Yeah, he's 27 years old. So I'm pretty sure Jawan Jennings is the oldest receiver. So they have an arsenal of younger wide receivers, but signing a guy like Davante Adams, no matter if he's 32 or not, is a good move. And it's because he's one of the best wide receivers in football when he's healthy and playing. And just because you're signing a 32-year-old wide receiver in free agency on a probably like a one year deal does not mean that that's making your team, like, it's not going to hurt your team. And I think with the 49ers, you got to get a veteran guy in here because of the Brandon Ayuk injury, because of the Deebo Samuel trade. And I do think John Lynch, I think he means they just need to get younger in other areas. It's not necessarily wide receiver, and it's not like they're going to be signing Davante Adams to a 3-4 year deal. If Davante Adams gets signed by the 49ers, it's probably going to be a 1 year deal. So even though the Niners want to get younger, I still think they're 100% open to getting a guy like Davante Adams. I think what they mean is just get younger in the trenches and at certain skill positions around the team. But I think the 49ers are going to be forced. I mean, they are being forced to sign a veteran wide receiver because of the current wide receiver situation. So they have a young core of wide receivers with Jawan Jennings, Brandon Ayuk, and Ricky Pearsall. What does getting one of the best receivers in football like Davante Adams mean on a 1 year type of prove-it deal? a guy that can excel on in man-to-man, a guy that can excel in getting separation off the line of scrimmage. I'm all for Davante Adams, even though he's 32 years old. It's not like, again, the 49ers are going to be signing him to this massive 3-year deal or something like that. So the 49ers will be interested in Davante Adams. They should sign him, in my opinion, if the price is right. I don't think he's going to be making over $20 million in 2025. I could be wrong. I don't see that happening, hence to why nobody traded for him. Everybody, I think, knows that Davante Adams is not worth upwards of $30 million per year like he was set to make in 2025 with the Jets. So he's going to definitely be cheaper than what his salary was going to be for 2025. The Niners have a need at wide receiver. He fits the exact skill and technique type of receiver that the 49ers are looking for, and he's one of the best in the business. So I think the 49ers should absolutely entertain the idea of signing Davante Adams. If he's going to be too expensive and it's going to put some other positions that we potentially need to address and some of the other potential players that we need to re-sign in jeopardy, as long as it's not Dre Greenlaw, and as long as we could still sign Dre Greenlaw with getting Davante Adams, sign him. Like, what are you waiting on? But obviously, I made videos on Dre Greenlaw. He is expected to hit free agency and all of that. But it seems to me that the 49ers, he's going to be giving the 49ers an opportunity to match whatever deal that he potentially gets in free agency. So he's going to have a strong market. Obviously, the hope is that the 49ers can re-sign him, but that's for another video. So Davante Adams to the 49ers, officially heating up and in full effect. Again, he was released by the New York Jets today. Jets freed up nearly $30 million in cap space by this move. This was a move that was expected. This was a move that was inevitable. Something else that I heard on Twitter, I believe it was from Ian Rappaport. Let me see if I can pull it up here. I got it on my phone earlier, and I thought it was pretty interesting. It was about how Davante Adams wants to play with Aaron Rodgers. Like, obviously, I'm sure he wants to, but Ian Rappaport said something along the lines of, it's not like a guarantee that, like, Davante Adams is 100% open to playing elsewhere, and not with Aaron Rodgers. I can't remember what the exact report said, but he basically hinted that even though Davante Adams would like to play with Aaron Rodgers, it's not one of these things that is like a deal breaker. So here's the exact tweet that I'm talking about. So Ian Rappaport said, while the assumption has been that Davante Adams wants to play with Aaron Rodgers, and historically that's been the plan, my understanding is the pull of being on the West Coast is very real. So he very, very badly wants to go back out to the West Coast and play football. 49ers are in San Francisco on the West Coast. This is a move that makes sense for both sides. He'll be on a contending team. Obviously, the 49ers have a lot of work to do before, I think, being really considered a legitimate contender. But this would be a good step in the right direction, without a doubt. So let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. As always, go Niners. I'll see you guys in the next one.